The garage always smelled like motor oil and broken promises. I was under the hood of my F-150, trying to coax life back into the alternator, when I heard them through the thin walls. My wife Elena and our daughter Sophie, their voices carrying that particular edge that meant I was the topic of conversation. "Dad's pathetic, Mom. You know it. I know it. Everyone in Cedar Falls knows it." Sophie's voice dripped with teenage contempt. "Uncle Daniel would never let his truck fall apart like that. He'd just buy a new one." Elena's response was softer, but the words hit harder. "Your father has his limitations, sweetheart. Some people are meant for bigger things." I set down my wrench and listened. 23 years of marriage, and this was how my wife talked about me when she thought I couldn't hear. The contractor who built half the houses in this town, reduced to limitations and broken trucks. "I'd trust Uncle Daniel over Dad any day," Sophie continued. "At least he knows how to take care of himself and his family." The irony wasn't lost on me. Elena always said she loved how close Daniel and I were. Brothers should stick together, she'd say. Family bonds matter. I believed every word. That night, after Elena claimed exhaustion and turned away from me in bed, I found it. Daniel's watch tucked under my pillow like some twisted mint left by housekeeping. The Rolex Submariner I'd saved 6 months to buy him for his 30th birthday. Distinctive blue face, custom engraving on the back. To my brother, my best friend, Ben. My hands shook as I turned it over, reading my own words back to myself. The watch was warm, like it had been recently worn, like it had been hastily hidden. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the timepiece that represented everything wrong with my life. Daniel got the looks, the charm, the real estate empire. I got the calloused hands and the mortgage payments. But this watch? This was mine to give, and apparently his to leave behind after visits I knew nothing about. The cologne hit me next. That expensive stuff Daniel wore, the kind that cost more than my monthly truck payment. It lingered on my pillowcase mixed with Elena's perfume in a combination that made my stomach turn. When I'd smelled it on her hair last week, she'd blamed a crowded elevator at the bank. Some elevator. I didn't confront her that night. 23 years of marriage teaches you patience, even when that patience feels like swallowing glass. Instead, I waited, watched, listened to the way she hummed in the shower, the same tune she'd hummed during our honeymoon. The phone was my Rosetta Stone. Elena left it on the nightstand while she showered, something she'd never done before. The screen lit up with a text notification, and Daniel's name appeared like a neon sign advertising my humiliation. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Ben's working late again, right?" My thumb moved without conscious thought, unlocking her phone with the passcode I'd watched her type 1,000 times. Our anniversary date. How romantic. The messages went back 18 months. 18 months of my wife and my brother planning their meetings around my work schedule. 18 months of I love you texts that weren't meant for me. 18 months of photos that brothers don't send and wives don't receive. I screenshot everything, every message, every photo, every plan they made for when I wasn't around. The evidence transferred silently to my phone while Elena sang off-key in the bathroom, probably thinking about him. The timeline was what destroyed me. Their affair started before Daniel's engagement to Rebecca, continued through his proposal, his wedding planning, his bachelor party. My wife was helping him cheat on his fiancée while cheating on me. It was betrayal with a side of betrayal, served cold on a smartphone screen. Rebecca seemed nice in the photos I'd seen. Young, excited about her upcoming wedding, posting countdown updates on social media like a kid waiting for Christmas. She deserved better than marrying a man who was sleeping with his brother's wife. She deserved the truth. Cedar Falls thrived on gossip the way some towns thrived on tourism. Population 12,000, but somehow everyone knew everyone else's business before they knew it themselves. The Lantern, our local dive bar, served as the unofficial information exchange. Mick, the owner, had been my friend since high school and possessed an almost supernatural ability to know everything happening in town. You look like someone ran over your dog, Mick said, sliding a beer across the scarred wooden bar. Elena still giving you the cold shoulder? I took a long drink, considering how much to reveal. Something like that. Marriage is work, Ben. You know that. Sometimes people drift apart, find their way back together. If only it were that simple. What do you know about Daniel's wedding? Mick's eyebrows rose. Your brother's getting married Saturday? Big to-do at the country club? Why? Just wondering if Rebecca seems happy. Happy as any bride to be, I guess. She was in here last week with her bridesmaids, celebrating. Nice girl. Too good for most of the men in this town, if you ask me. Too good for Daniel, certainly. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the screenshots I'd organized into a folder labeled Evidence. The photos were damning. The messages were worse. Elena and Daniel discussing Rebecca like she was an inconvenience, a temporary obstacle to their happiness. I need Rebecca's number, I said. Mick studied my face. That's an odd request. I have something she needs to see before Saturday. Ben, whatever you're thinking, she deserves to know what kind of man she's marrying. Mick was quiet for a long moment, wiping down glasses that were already clean. Finally, he reached under the bar and pulled out his phone. Rebecca Walsh. She works at the library downtown. But Ben, be careful. Some truths are like grenades. Once you pull the pin, you can't put it back. I already knew about grenades. I'd been living with one in my chest for 18 months, and I hadn't even known it was there. The next morning, I called the library. Rebecca's voice was cheerful, probably because she thought she was marrying Prince Charming in 4 days. Rebecca, this is Ben Carver, Daniel's brother. Oh, Ben, hi. I was hoping we'd get to talk more before the wedding. Daniel speaks about you all the time. I bet he did. I need to meet with you. It's important. About Daniel. Her voice shifted, concern creeping in. Is everything okay? Is he hurt? He's fine. But there's something you need to know before Saturday. Can you meet me for coffee? Today? I suppose. Is this about the bachelor party? Because I already told him I don't want to know details. It's not about the bachelor party. Please, Rebecca. This can't wait. We arranged to meet at Corner Cafe, a quiet place downtown where we could talk privately. I spent the morning rehearsing what I'd say, how I'd present the evidence. There was no gentle way to destroy someone's world, but I could at least try to be kind about it. Rebecca arrived exactly on time, looking like someone who had everything figured out. Blonde hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, engagement ring catching the afternoon light, smile that belonged on a greeting card. She was everything Elena used to be, before cynicism and disappointment carved lines around her eyes. Ben, you look serious. You're scaring me. I slid my phone across the small table. I'm sorry, Rebecca. I wish there was an easier way to show you this. She picked up the phone, confusion evident on her face. Then she started scrolling through the screenshots. Her expression changed gradually, like watching someone realize they're standing in quicksand. Confusion became understanding. Understanding became hurt. Hurt became anger. These are from Elena's phone? I found them 3 days ago. I'm sorry. She kept scrolling, her face growing paler with each message. When she reached the photos, she set the phone down and stared at her hands. 18 months, she whispered. I'm sorry. We've been engaged for 6 months. He was doing this the whole time. I wanted to comfort her, but what comfort was there? Her fiancé was sleeping with my wife. My brother was a liar. My marriage was a joke. The only comfort was that we both knew the truth now. What am I supposed to do with this? She asked. Whatever you think is right. But Rebecca, you deserve better than this. You deserve someone who won't cheat on you before you're even married. She was quiet for a long time, staring out the window at the people walking by. Normal people with normal problems, not brides-to-be, discovering their fiancés were cheating with their future sister-in-law. The wedding is Saturday. I know. 300 guests, the deposits, the flowers, She trailed off, probably calculating the financial disaster of a canceled wedding. Money can be replaced, I said. Trust can't. She picked up my phone again, scrolling through more messages. They talk about me like I'm stupid, like I'm this naive little girl who doesn't know what's happening right under her nose. You're not stupid. You trusted someone you loved. That's not stupidity, it's faith. Faith, she repeated, like the word tasted bitter. I had faith in Daniel. I had faith in our future together. I had faith that he loved me enough to be honest. He doesn't deserve your faith. Rebecca stood up abruptly, my phone still in her hand. I need to think about this. Can I keep these screenshots? They're already on your phone. I sent them while we were talking. She looked surprised, then grateful. Thank you, Ben. I know this couldn't have been easy. It wasn't, but you deserve to know. She left without another word, walking out into the afternoon sunshine like someone heading toward a battle. I sat alone at the table, feeling simultaneously guilty and relieved. The grenade pin was pulled. Now we'd all live with the explosion. The call came at 11:30 that night. Daniel's voice, tight with rage, filled my kitchen through the phone speaker. You piece of garbage, you ruined everything. I'd been expecting this call since Rebecca left the cafe. I didn't ruin anything, Daniel. I just shared some information. Information? You destroyed my wedding. Rebecca called off everything. 300 guests, the country club, the honeymoon, everything. Maybe you should have thought about that before you started sleeping with my wife. Silence. Then, quieter. How did you find out? Your watch, under my pillow. Your cologne on my sheets. Elena's phone full of your messages. Take your pick. Ben, listen. No, you listen. 18 months, Daniel. 18 months you've been screwing my wife and lying to your fiancé. Did you think I'd never find out? Did you think Rebecca didn't deserve to know what kind of man she was marrying? It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? You marry Rebecca while sleeping with Elena? Keep both relationships going indefinitely? What was the plan here? Another silence. Then, I'm coming over. Don't. We need to talk about this face to face. We really don't. Stay away from my house, Daniel. Stay away from my family. You've done enough damage. I hung up and immediately called Elena. She was supposedly at the yoga studio working late again. The phone rang 6 times before she answered. Ben, what's wrong? Rebecca knows. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Finally, knows what? About you and Daniel, about the affair, about everything. I don't know what you're talking about. Even now, caught red-handed, she was going to lie. I have the screenshots, Elena. Every message, every photo, every plan you two made. Rebecca has them too. She called off the wedding. Oh. The word came out like air leaving a punctured tire. Oh? That's all you have to say? Oh? Ben, I can explain. Don't. Just don't. Come home. We need to talk. Elena arrived an hour later, looking like someone who'd been crying. Her makeup was smeared, her hair disheveled, her usual composure completely gone. She sat across from me at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten breakfast that morning, like nothing was wrong. How long have you known? She asked. 3 days. How long has it been going on? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been sleeping with my brother for 18 months while he was engaged to someone else, while you were married to me. She stared at her hands, twisting her wedding ring. The ring I'd saved 3 months to buy, back when I thought marriage meant something. It just happened, she said finally. For 18 months? It just kept happening? Daniel and I, we connect on a level that you and I never did. The honesty was almost refreshing. After years of feeling like I wasn't enough, wasn't smart enough, wasn't successful enough, Elena was finally confirming what I'd suspected all along. So why stay married to me? I do love you, Ben, in my way. Your way involves sleeping with my brother. It's complicated. It's really not. You wanted Daniel, but you also wanted the security of being married to me, the house, the stability, the safety net. You wanted everything. Elena's tears started again. I never meant for anyone to get hurt. Rebecca got hurt. I got hurt. You and Daniel are the only ones who got what you wanted. What happens now? I'd been thinking about that question since I found the watch. Now you decide what you want. You can't have both of us anymore. The secret's out. And if I choose Daniel? Then you choose Daniel. But you don't get to keep this house, this life, this safety net. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. Elena was quiet for a long time. Outside, I could hear Mrs. Harlan's dog barking at shadows, the same routine every night. Normal life continuing while mine fell apart. I need time to think, Elena said. You've had 18 months to think. Time's up. She stood up slowly, like someone much older than her 45 years. I'll stay at the studio tonight. Give us both some space. Good idea. After she left, I sat alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of a marriage that had been over for longer than I'd realized. The house felt different now, like a stage set after the play had ended. Everything looked the same, but the meaning had changed. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Thank you for telling me the truth. You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. Rebecca. At least someone was better off. At least someone had been saved from the wreckage of Daniel and Elena's selfishness. It wasn't much consolation, but it was something. The next morning brought consequences. Sophie refused to speak to me, convinced I'd ruined her beloved uncle's happiness. Elena's sister called to scream about family loyalty. Daniel's friends started avoiding me at the hardware store, like betrayal was contagious. But Rebecca sent flowers with a note. To the brother who actually acted like family. Sometimes doing the right thing feels exactly like doing the wrong thing. Sometimes the truth is a weapon that wounds everyone, including the person wielding it. But Rebecca deserved better than marrying a liar, and I deserved better than living with one. 2 relationships ended within 24 hours. His engagement, my marriage. Neither woman wanted anything to do with Daniel afterward, and Elena discovered that choosing between security and passion meant losing both. Cedar Falls buzzed with gossip for weeks. A canceled wedding was front-page news in a town where the biggest excitement usually involved the annual corn festival. Daniel disappeared for a while, probably licking his wounds somewhere expensive. Elena moved into a studio apartment above the yoga center, splitting time between teaching Downward Dog and avoiding eye contact with me around town. The divorce papers were surprisingly simple. 23 years reduced to asset division and custody arrangements. Sophie, now 18, chose to live with Elena, which hurt less than I'd expected. We'd grown apart over the years, and her loyalty to Daniel had always puzzled me. Now it just seemed irrelevant. I kept the house. Elena kept the yoga studio and half our savings. We split everything else down the middle, like dividing up the pieces of a broken vase. Fair, practical, and utterly joyless. Rebecca and I started talking regularly. Not romantically. We were both too damaged for that. But as survivors of the same shipwreck. She'd gotten her deposits back from most vendors, canceled the honeymoon, and returned wedding gifts with gracious notes that probably became collector's items among the Cedar Falls gossip network. I keep thinking I should hate you, she told me over coffee one afternoon. You destroyed my wedding. I destroyed the illusion of your wedding. The reality was already broken. Still, 300 people were supposed to watch me marry the man I loved. Instead, they got cancellation notices. Would you rather have married him, knowing what you know now? Rebecca stirred her coffee thoughtfully. No, but I keep wondering what would have happened if you hadn't told me. Would I have figured it out eventually? Would he have left me for Elena after we were married? Would I have wasted years instead of months? Does it matter? I guess not. But I think about alternate timelines sometimes. The version where Daniel was faithful, where Elena was happy with you, where nobody got hurt. That timeline never existed. Daniel and Elena made sure of that 18 months ago. You're right. I had this whole life planned out. The wedding, the honeymoon, the house we were going to buy, the kids we were going to have. Now I'm starting over at 28, and I don't know what comes next. I understood that feeling. Starting over isn't the worst thing. At least now you're building on truth instead of lies. Is that what you're doing? Starting over? I looked around the coffee shop, at the familiar faces and small-town rhythms I'd known my whole life. I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. The truth was, I felt strangely free. The weight of an unhappy marriage, the constant comparison to Daniel's success, the nagging sense that I wasn't enough. All of it had lifted. I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I was disappointed, but I wasn't devastated. Elena had been right about one thing. We never connected the way she and Daniel did. But I'd mistaken familiarity for love, routine for happiness. The marriage had been comfortable in the way a worn-out chair is comfortable, familiar and functional, but not particularly satisfying. Have you talked to Daniel? Rebecca asked. No. Have you? He called a few times. Apologetic, explanatory, the usual. I didn't answer. Good. He sent flowers with a note saying he was sorry, that he never meant to hurt me, that Elena seduced him and he was weak. Classy guy. Right? Blame the woman, take no responsibility. Really makes me confident I dodged a bullet. We sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd been betrayed by the same man, finding odd comfort in shared experience. Rebecca was rebuilding her life with admirable determination. She'd canceled the wedding, kept her job, started dating again. She was moving forward while Daniel and Elena seemed stuck in the wreckage they'd created. Can I ask you something? Rebecca said. Do you think they're happy together now, Daniel and Elena? I'd wondered the same thing. I doubt it. Relationships built on betrayal don't usually have strong foundations. They were excited by the secrecy, the forbidden nature of it. Now that it's out in the open, they're just two people who destroyed their families for each other. That's a lot of pressure. Good, Rebecca said, then looked surprised at her own vehemence. Sorry, that was petty. Petty is allowed. They earned it. I used to think I was better than that. Above revenge, above wanting people to suffer for hurting me. Turns out I'm more human than I thought. Revenge doesn't have to mean wishing them misery. Sometimes it's just living well despite what they did to you. Is that what you're doing? Living well? I considered the question. My marriage was over. My brother and I would probably never speak again, and my daughter barely acknowledged my existence. But I was sleeping better than I had in months, working on projects I enjoyed, and discovering who I was when I wasn't trying to be enough for someone who would never be satisfied. I'm learning how, I said. Rebecca smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her since that day in the coffee shop. Me too. 6 months later, Cedar Falls had moved on to fresher gossip. Daniel had quietly left town, selling his real estate business and relocating somewhere warmer and less judgmental. Elena kept the yoga studio but struggled to maintain clients who preferred their spiritual guidance from someone who hadn't recently blown up 2 families. I was renovating the kitchen when Rebecca stopped by with coffee and news. I got a promotion, she announced, setting cups on my sawhorse's turned table. Head librarian. Apparently, surviving public humiliation builds character. Congratulations. You deserve it. Thanks, and you deserve to know. I heard from Daniel. I set down my drill. What did he want? To make amends, apparently. He's in therapy, working on himself, taking responsibility for his actions. He wanted my forgiveness. Did you give it to him? I told him forgiveness isn't something you can ask for like a favor. It's something you earn over time through changed behavior. Since I never plan to see him again, earning it might be challenging. I laughed, despite myself. That's diplomatic. I've had time to practice. But Ben, he asked about you too. He wants to reach out, to apologize. He knows where to find me. Are you open to that? Talking to him? I thought about it while sipping Rebecca's excellent coffee. I don't know. Part of me wants an apology, wants him to acknowledge what he did. But another part of me thinks it's too late for apologies. Some things can't be fixed with words. Maybe the apology isn't for you. Maybe it's for him, to make himself feel better about what he did. That's what I'm afraid of. Rebecca nodded. Well, if he does call, you'll know what feels right. Trust your instincts. They were good enough to save me from marrying him. After she left, I continued working on the kitchen, thinking about forgiveness and moving forward. The house was slowly becoming mine rather than ours. New paint, new fixtures, new energy. I was building something that belonged to me alone, and it felt good. Elena and I had been civil during the divorce proceedings, but we hadn't really talked. She'd sent Sophie to pick up her remaining belongings, avoiding direct contact. I understood. Facing someone you've betrayed is uncomfortable, and Elena had never been good with discomfort. Sophie was a different story. My daughter's anger had gradually shifted from fury to disappointment to something approaching understanding. She was away at college now, getting distance from the family drama and figuring out her own life. We texted occasionally, carefully neutral exchanges that might eventually grow into something more substantial. The kitchen renovation was nearly finished when my phone rang. Daniel's name on the screen felt like a relic from another life. Ben, it's Daniel. I know. Can we talk? I mean, really talk? About what? About what I did. About how sorry I am. About trying to fix this. I looked around my renovated kitchen, at the work I'd done with my own hands, at the life I was building without him or Elena. Some things can't be fixed, Daniel. I know I hurt you. I know I betrayed your trust. But we're brothers, Ben. That has to count for something. We were brothers when you started sleeping with my wife. We were brothers when you lied to me for 18 months. We were brothers when you let me give you that watch while you were using it to time your visits to my house. Silence. Then, I was weak. Elena was... She made me feel things I'd never felt before. And Rebecca? What did she make you feel? That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? You think any of this was fair to Rebecca, to me, to your fiancé who planned a wedding, to a man who was cheating on her before they were even married? I know. I know it wasn't fair. That's why I'm calling. I want to make it right. You can't make it right, Daniel. You can only live with what you did and try to be better going forward. But that doesn't require my participation. So that's it? 25 years of being brothers, and it's just over? I thought about all those years. Daniel getting the bigger bedroom because he was older. Daniel getting the car keys first because he was more responsible. Daniel getting the girl I liked in high school because he was more charming. Daniel building a successful business while I worked with my hands. Daniel taking my wife because he could. It was over 18 months ago, I said. I'm just acknowledging it now. Ben, please. I hung up. The kitchen looked perfect in the afternoon light streaming through new windows, clean lines, quality materials, honest craftsmanship. It was exactly what I'd wanted, built exactly how I'd envisioned it. No compromises, no input from someone who thought my limitations were showing. Rebecca was right about living well being the best revenge. Daniel could keep his apologies and his therapy sessions. Elena could keep her yoga studio and her spiritual guidance. I had something better, a life built on truth, work that satisfied me, and the knowledge that I'd done the right thing even when it hurt. The phone rang again. This time it was Sophie. Dad, I heard Uncle Daniel called you. News travels fast. I'm sorry, Dad, for taking his side, for being angry at you, for not understanding what really happened. You were protecting someone you loved. I understand that. But I should have protected you too. You're my father. You're 18, Sophie. You're allowed to make mistakes while you figure things out. Can I come home for dinner sometime? See the kitchen you've been working on? I looked around my beautiful, honest, uncompromised kitchen. I'd like that very much. Good. And Dad, I'm proud of you. For telling Rebecca the truth, for standing up for what was right, for not letting them get away with it. After we hung up, I sat in my renovated kitchen, drinking coffee and watching the sun set over Cedar Falls. Elena had been wrong about one thing. She said she loved how close Daniel and I were. But we were never actually close. We were just related. Closeness requires honesty, trust, and mutual respect. We'd had proximity and shared history, but not closeness. Real closeness was what I was building now with Rebecca, with Sophie, with myself. It was based on truth instead of convenience, choice instead of obligation. It was harder to build, but stronger once established. The watch was still in my dresser drawer, wrapped in tissue paper like a small monument to betrayal. Sometimes I thought about throwing it away, but it served as a reminder: trust carefully, love wisely, and never underestimate the power of truth to set things right. Daniel could keep his apologies. Elena could keep her regrets. I had something better. A life rebuilt on my own terms, relationships based on honesty, and the satisfaction of knowing that sometimes doing the right thing is its own reward. The kitchen was finished. The house was mine. The future was unwritten. It was enough.